The Team Real World Radio Show on 107.3 FM.
WBRP.
My name is Maurice Velasquez.
And I'm John Shirk.
And we are Team Real World. This radio show is where we discuss all things business, management, leadership, and team dynamics. Our slogan is simple. It's real problems,
real solutions, and really fun.
See, we're having so much fun already. We lost our place on our sheet here. Anyway, let's see, where were we? All right, really fun. Our website is www.teamrealworld.com, and our phone number is 225-772-4357. You can find us on Facebook. Simply type in Team Real World and find a lot of goodies there. Today we have a great show.
Yes, we do.
It's called Bullseye Management, and think of it as if you will, in this segment, think of a bullseye. I mean, really, the kind of bullseye you would have in front of when you're
doing archery or some kind of shooting or things like that.
Exactly, and it has 8 rings. Mm-hmm. All right, and so you're about to take your best shot, and so you put your aim at the very center, and from the center we're going to work out. So as we're going to go through 8 major elements for managers to keep track on the things they need to roll out. Whenever managers are either dictated by the executives, we're going to do this, or forget the dictating part, you agree with the executives that, hey, we're going to do such and such in the company.
Sure.
Or as a manager, you and your teams decide we're going to do such and such. 3 weeks later, everybody goes, hey, what happened to that thing we talked about?
Yeah.
It just falls apart.
Or your team says, how come we're always the last to know?
Exactly. And so everybody goes, wait, hey, don't forget about me.
That's right.
Don't forget about me. And then somebody goes, yeah, but man, I wasn't told, I don't feel loved, and everybody wants to be loved.
That's
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and on top of it, sometimes their engagement is what makes a difference between success and failure in those initiatives.
Exactly. So we're going to cover these 8 steps in very quick fashion because we have 8 steps and we only have like 45 minutes to an hour to cover this. So we're just going to have a lot of fun, break them up into small little segments. Well, but for the first segment here, so why don't we just tell you what the 8 steps are, okay?
Yes.
All right, so the 8 steps, let's break it down into 2 sets of 4, all right?
Okay.
It's number 1, definition. So imagine you're aiming, you're about to take your best shot, all right? Like Pat Benatar would say, hit me with your best shot.
That's right.
Okay, all right? And so it's all about definition. The second step is about publishing, okay? If you define it, but yet it sits on someone's hard drive, well, it's not going to do anybody any good.
Right.
Then the next step is to promote it. If you're going to define it and you're going to publish it, you might as well promote it.
By the way, these steps matter in order.
It has to be in order. Exactly. It has to be in order,
Yeah.
Yes, in order.
Don't promote before you publish.
Yeah, that's right. And don't publish and then decide that you got to define this thing.
Right.
Okay, so first definition, then you got to publish it. Then you had to promote it. Then you got to communicate it on a regular basis at keep times. Okay, That's the first 4. Then you have to measure it.
Yep, that's right. Measure it. Then you have to manage the delivery and the execution of it.
That's right. And then you have to reward to it.
That's right. And then finally, you have to recruit to that thing.
That's right. So let's get started, right?
All right.
Those are the 8 steps. If you didn't write them down because you're driving it, all right, then log into our website, shoot us an email. We'll send them to you. If you are able to write these down, well, hopefully you're able to keep up with us. We are going to have a great time. So let's get started with definition.
You bet. Let's go.
John regularly says in our workshops, in our coaching and consulting, that leadership, the very essence of leadership is definition.
Leaders create definition.
And leaders read, right?
Yep.
Leaders think.
Yep.
Leaders propose.
Yep.
But when it's all said and done, all that is leaders define.
Until things are defined, everyone is living in a separate reality. Even if you're in the same room and you're measuring the same things and you're looking at the same documents, leaders stand up and define what is the case, and everyone works from that.
There's a great movie, Amadeus, whenever they came and asked him, where is our symphony? And he said, I have it almost finished. And they said, well, where? Show it to us. And he said, well, I can't. And they asked us, why? He said, because I have it all right here in my head. Exactly. But you see, in his head, it was almost completely finished. What was the problem?
it couldn't be passed. It couldn't. Nothing. No one could do anything with it.
And they had to start practicing like a day, 2 days
Yeah.
later, and he was saying it's finished. So I think one of the funniest moments in the life of Team Real World is when John asked me one time, "Well, Maurice, about that manual, where is it?" And I said, "Oh, it's ready to go." He said, "Well, great. When are we going to print?" Well, I got to write it first. So definition is everything. Oh, here's our transition.
That's right. It's Gene the dancing machine.
We have just dated ourselves, John. Yes, everybody. For those of you that recognize, that was a Gene the dancing machine.
If you're listening,
know,
you
wait,
don't
wait.
know who this is. Please ask your parents.
Yes, let's not say where it is.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's do a little contest.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Let's see who sends us the first text or the first email to let us know where you would hear Gene the dancing machine. Is there any way to replay that clip? Okay, we're gonna try to replay it. If you missed it, this is gonna be our transition music in our radio show today. All right.
Yeah.
So there it is. Oh yeah.
There it is.
Gene the dancing machine. You guys ought to see John dancing over here. There's a specific dance that goes along with this. We're going to have to film it and put it on our website. And, of course, that'll be John that you see doing that. I'm the shy one. Okay, so I lost completely where we were. Definition.
Definition, that's
so,
right.
in other words, you can't have it in your head. It's got to be written down. It's
That's
got to
right.
be written down.
That's right.
It does not count. And that applies to almost, John, can we say everything?
Just about
Goals.
Goals.
Oh, I have them in my head.
That's right.
New Year's resolutions. Oh, it have to be written down. Oh, my time management stuff.
Yep.
It's got to be written down.
Yep.
Your plans, your goals, your objectives. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you wanted your team to change processes? It's got to be written down.
We see again and again and again with our clients that there's a point of resistance here to actually putting it on paper, in part because of the effort involved to put it on paper. But my friend, if it doesn't go on paper, it will fuzz and fade and go away and will not be real.
Now, if you do put it on paper and it doesn't get done, that's a totally different issue.
That's right.
That's a little more along the lines of what we're going to talk about later about managing it, okay? But for now, save yourselves a lot of headache. Define. The second step to definition is define. And the third step is define, okay? Define. All right?
Yeah.
Let's move on to the second step because we just stayed up a lot of time on our
That's
segment
right.
for this one.
That's right.
All right, the second step, once you define is you have to publish it.
Tell us what that means, Maureen.
Yeah, you know it's amazing. Okay, how many times you and I do this in our own company.
Oh, it's true.
Okay, we do this a lot, and it's the truth of a lot of our clients as well. Okay, bless their hearts, I think we're worst at it. We will say things like, "Oh yeah, we have something like that," and then somebody says, "Where is it?" And the response is, "See, I wrote that about 2 years ago. Let me look for it." And then I started looking in Dropbox, my email. It's in my file somewhere, but it's out there somewhere, and I'm going to quote it. But yet, I never valued it enough to print it, to publish it. Okay, it didn't hit the printer. Why?
Yep.
Because we emailed it to everybody, and we think if we emailed it to everybody, then that's somehow official.
That's right.
And that is one of the biggest mistakes in leadership, that once you define it, you just simply send it out to email and you say, guys, here's the latest whatever, or here's what we have to do. And we somehow assume that has now been official.
That's right. And when we help people develop great business meetings, we can notice by the way they're sitting in the meeting how the meeting is going to go. Because if they have something on paper in front of them they're working from, they're sitting up and they've got this piece of paper in front of them. If they don't, they're sitting back in their chair, they're staring up at the ceiling. It's a very different meeting.
And we usually say in your business meetings, in your management meetings, your group meetings, in your executive meetings, your posture should be one as though you're sitting at a fine restaurant, not as in a drive-through or at a fast food restaurant. For example, in a fast food restaurant, you go up to eat, and you're at the counter, and you're looking up to the menu.
Correct.
Right? But in a fine establishment, a more fine establishment, you are looking down. You're sitting around a table, and you're looking down at the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
That's correct. That's
so
exactly
therefore, in your business meetings, your posture should be one looking down at paper. It's okay if you have it on the overhead, but it's more professional and much more results oriented if you're looking at the same paper. So you have to have the commitment to define what you want to see happen, define your documents, print them, and publish them. Either just leave it at that. I think that's fair. So move towards publishing. Okay, if you don't publish, you will not hit your best shot.
Oh, you are the king of segue, brother.
Was that good?
That was awesome.
That's great. She wrote this song just for this segment.
Yes, she did.
All right. It's time to transition, my friend. You've been listening to Team Real World on Talk 107.3
WBRP.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Team Real World radio show. It's good to have you back. We're in our second segment, and we're having a pretty good show.
I think so.
We're talking about what we call bullseye management. My name is Maurice Velasquez, and
I'm John Shirk.
And you are listening to Talk 107.3 FM.
WBRP.
We are Team Real World, and we are discussing today 8 key things, 8 key steps, strategies, tactics, if you will, for managers to use to make sure they minimize the number of times in which projects, processes, ideas, tasks, I guess you can say, keep things from falling through the cracks.
Yeah, there are these execution gaps that happen when great plans don't turn into great execution. And what we're talking about is the bridge between those two.
And so oftentimes, we, instead of just helping companies and clients identify the actual specific project or this process, because we spend a lot of time doing that, what we normally make sure is that whatever the project, whatever the idea, whatever the initiative, whatever the process, whatever it is, it needs to have a solid chance of survival.
Correct.
And so what we've done is we've identified a basic little program, which is called the Bullseye Management Approach, that gives managers the ability to not let those things fall through the cracks.
Exactly.
Okay? And so we normally take our clients through these 8 steps in almost everything they do. The first step we talked about in our first segment was define.
Correct.
The second one was definition means putting it in writing, putting it in paper. Okay. The second step was to publish it. Don't just write it, send out an email, and it stays digital. Okay. Right. Especially at meetings. Okay. Put it on paper.
And there can be sort of a anti-paper thing, and I understand that, but
yes.
we just have found that it's really worth it to use paper in this case.
Yeah, and I would even say if we ever did a study, I don't know, John would of the amount of paper that we're trying to save versus the number of the amount of hours and minutes that we spend chasing email and long threads. Right. Of everybody being copied because nobody wants to print that piece of paper and have a little short meeting about it.
Right.
So
in our current culture, if it's printed, it seems to matter more.
It does.
If it's been formalized on paper.
And until we can get away from that, we just need to recognize it is what it is.
Right.
So like Elvis Costello was singing, every day I write the book, you got to basically consider that your next step is just as critical, that once you define it, once you publish it, you have to what?
Promote it.
You got to promote it. Okay, if I was in the if just like you see, actors, actresses, people of celebrity, if they're in a movie, what immediately do they go do around the country?
Oh, they go see Jay Leno. They go.
Why do they do that?
Well, they're promoting their film.
If you're writing a book, what do you do?
You go promote it.
That's
go do book signings.
The only group that got away with not doing that were the Beatles. And after that, they proved to themselves they could say or sing anything from studio, and then they have to go promote anything.
Right.
Okay, because everybody was basically at their doors wanting to know what was the party
next?
all about.
What's next?
But, okay, until you get as good as the Beatles, okay, you have to go promote it.
Yep.
You have to bring yourself out of your chair.
Yep.
You have to go promote it with others. You got to go talk to the marketing department. You got to go talk to the owners.
This can also be an area where you help recruit someone from your team who helps you promote.
Oh, especially your high eyes.
Exactly. You got those people who are cheerleaders for anything and everything.
Right.
Give them something to focus on.
That's right. And so promotion is where you test to see how good you are at selling your idea.
That's right.
Okay?
Yep.
And it's all about creating collaboration because you don't want to catch anybody by surprise.
Now, let me say one other point in here, too. If you're a manager and you want to fall back on, I don't have to promote it, they have to do what I tell them or they get fired.
Yeah, so you want to move away from not letting folks know because, well, they all got the email, and you're trusting on the fact that, oh, well, I sent the email. Listen, you got to really move away from the whole concept of thinking that you send an email that people are reading it.
Right.
Okay.
Their engagement matters. It's their engagement that can make the difference.
And it's your idea. It's your process.
Right.
It's your project. Don't let it die because you don't want to get out of your chair to go and collaborate with others. Make sure that you write a list of all your key stakeholders.
Yep.
Department managers up and down across, and consider how can I promote this to them and go find out what their issues are or could be about this, what they may not like about it.
Right.
Get some feedback before you actually go full haywire with it.
Exactly.
And don't leave anybody out because, I mean, you don't want somebody to come to you and say, hey, forgot about me.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And especially if it's a department manager, a peer.
Yep.
Okay? Claims, don't leave out marketing. Marketing, don't leave out underwriting. Underwriting, don't leave out, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because the minute you leave a peer manager out of the equation, that's when they're going to hunker in and protect that turf of theirs.
That's right. One of the ways to create disengagement is let somebody be the last to know.
Yes. All right. I love these transitions, man.
We're back to Gene the Dancing Machine.
This means we have to transition into a new step in our bullseye management. This is great. I love Gene the Dancing Machine. Again, if you think you know where Gene the Dancing Machine comes from, email it to us. If you're listening to the radio show on the Commotion application, post it on there, and we're going to try to basically find out who's the first one to mention where you find this illustrious character. Yes, you can cheat. You can go find it on YouTube. Anyway, let's keep going. All right, so the first step is definition.
Yes.
The second step is what?
Publish.
Get it out of your email system, okay?
Right.
Get it out of your system. It's not get it out of your system. Get it out of your email system.
Yeah.
Get it out of digital. Go hard paper on it, okay?
That's
No, try to keep it under one page.
Yes.
No, sorry, try to keep it on one page.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More than one page, they're not going to read it all anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not worth the time and effort.
And that doesn't mean make it 6-point font, okay?
Yeah.
Keep it 10-point minimum and keep it under one. Keep it at one page. All right. The second step is publish. The third step is promote your idea. All right. Then number 4, communicate it.
Communicate it.
Communicate it. What does that mean? All right. That means talk about it regularly. Talk about it regularly. If it matters enough for you to define it and want to make sure that it's implementable and you actually printed it and you actually want to talk to folks about it, don't just let it die 3 weeks later and no one's talking about it.
Think about what we're saying here. That how many times have you heard someone come into a meeting and they kind of make a proclamation of a new project or something that's going to happen? They seem very excited about it. They've got a few details that come with it, and the next meeting comes, and there's no mention of it. And the next meeting comes, and there's no mention of it. And the next meeting comes, and you're wondering what happened to that
initiative. A month
initiative.
later goes on, and then somebody messes up,
Right.
and now you want to talk about it.
Right.
Now you want to talk about it. I had a great manager. I think it's one of the gentlemen that I learned the most from. He normally, when he was coaching us, and he coached us regularly, he would normally take about 20 to 30 minutes a week to teach us management principles. Okay. And he would often say things like, if you're not managing it, if you're not measuring it, you're not managing it.
Yes.
Okay. We'll cover that a little later today. All right. If you're not talking about it, you can't yell about it.
Oh, that's a good one.
You know?
That's a good
And
one.
of course, later he'd talk about the need to not yell about it. But the point is that if we're not talking about it and then we see behavior or performance that's not acceptable to it, we tend to let the frustration of that be the thing that triggers us to say, well, I've been taught, and then only realizing you haven't been talking about it.
Right. You've been thinking about it.
And again, that's that internal
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
I have it in my head. So and I sent it out to an email to everybody 6 weeks ago. You guys should know it's that important to me.
Right.
You know, so what the behavior you want to see changed is the behavior you need to measure.
Yes.
That behavior that you want to measure is the behavior you want to talk about.
Right.
so that you communicated in very calm ways what is it that you're expecting from people.
Exactly.
So if it doesn't hit the radar at the calm level, you really are barking up the wrong tree and digging out of a big hole if you think you're going to be able to raise your voice or raise your tension and then prove to everybody that you really meant what you meant.
Right.
Now, listen, everybody out there, John is kind of giving me that look while we're recording this because everything I'm saying here applies to me. Okay? I have a one-page, very nice, eloquent workshop, okay, on how not to manage from above the levels of frustration, okay? And he laughs at me all the time about this. He's actually turning red over here laughing, okay? Because that is my preferred style of management. It is. It's just so much easier. I accomplish so much more. You know, don't be clear on what I want.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it regularly. Forget about it. And then when somebody's not doing what I wanted them to do last fall, then say, hey, and then get upset all about it and let my frustration, my mood, my anger, my angst be the one that covers the day and then wonder why you don't have a fresh, thriving, high morale culture. You know, and then someone tells you, hey, man, you know, we have a low culture around here, with low morale culture. Well, what's the matter with them? And it all goes back to how the leaders, how the managers manage the various problems.
That's right.
Great song. This is exactly what you don't want people to say to you. Make sure you go and promote and communicate it. You are listening to Team Real World on Talk 107.3 FM.
WBRP.
One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. Two can be as bad as one. It's the loneliest number since the number one.
Welcome back to the Team Real World radio show, where we discuss real problems with real solutions, and we make it
Really fun.
Our website is www.teamrealworld.com, and our phone number is 225-772-4357. Okay, in this segment, we're going to be talking about the number one, and the number two,
And the number 3.
and the number 4. And this has been brought to you by Sesame Street. Oh, we should have had a clip from
Yeah.
we should have had a clip
Or at least
from
a lightning bolt.
or at least
Yeah.
a lightning. Okay, we promise you we will have Dracula here in this, but in the meantime we just number 1. I don't know what we're going to say in this segment now. Okay, what is the importance? First, if we define, then we publish, then we promote, then we communicate this. What's the next step?
The next step, Maurice, is to measure.
Measure. You have to measure, okay? While you're defining, you want to be able to measure, okay? But you got to ask yourself, the question is what numbers are we going to use to determine the success of this?
Exactly. Imagine the difference between these two things. Hey, Maurice, let's have a race. And, hey, Maurice, let's have a 100-meter race.
See, I totally. And so, in the clip that we're about to play is a clip from the movie Moneyball, in which the two coaches are discussing how they're choosing the best players to go by.
Yep.
Okay, and it's not based upon them feeling good about these individuals,
Just to eyeball only.
just to eyeball, you know, or whether they have a good measurement with a crowd, or, you know,
Right.
It is all about the numbers. It is about them being comfortable. The fact that these folks, against all odds and everything working against them, the numbers dictate that, yes, we should buy them or we should not buy them. So when you listen to this clip, think in terms of how it applies to your business. Here it
This is
is.
building in all the intelligence that we have to project players.
Okay.
It's about getting things down to one number. Using the stats the way we read them, we'll find value in players that nobody else can see. People are overlooked for a variety of biased reasons and perceived flaws. Age, appearance, personality. Bill James and mathematics cut straight through that. Billy, of the 20,000 notable players for us to consider, I believe that there is a championship team of 25 people that we could afford, because everyone else in baseball undervalues them. Like an island of misfit toys.
Did you hear that? An island of misfit toys.
I bet there's some managers out there right now who feel like that's true of their team.
It is. And I will tell you this. We have seen this over and over again in our own company with clients that we work with, that when they start talking in terms of their team's performance based on numbers, everything becomes a lot clearer.
Yeah, so true. So true.
There's a particular group of a sales department that we work with. They're actually here locally in town. And it's really an honor to see them applying these things. And like any sales team, working through the difficulty of defining what makes us successful, what's our quotas, what's our, you know what I'm saying, getting everybody fully engaged. And I mean, just, I wouldn't say typical sales force.
Sure.
Well, after much discussions and everybody participating, including the sales reps all the way to the executives, well, the answer was this. You ready? 5-1. If we just simply do 5-1, we will be successful.
It's all about getting it down to one number.
And that's what the video says. Now, I'm not going to sit here and explain to you what this company meant, 5-1, because, you know, we don't want to disclose their secrets and their strategies, but they brought it down to what? They brought it down to a number.
Again, think about the difference between saying, if you have a staff member who is putting in effort and you're having a conversation about whether or not, quote unquote, they're trying, that conversation is almost entirely pointless. If you have a sales team and they make appointments on the telephone, for example, and you have someone saying, I'm really trying, that conversation is totally different from saying, how many calls did you make? One says, I'm trying. How many calls? 6. Another one says, I'm trying. How many calls? 74. I mean, those are two entirely different situations.
Correct. And it makes all the difference in the world. This 5-1 program, and we actually called it a program, and we had a start date. Again, we made a big deal about it. We talked about it. We communicated a lot, okay? We promoted it. Oh, no. Oh, do we have to transition already?
Oh, we're back to Gene the Dancing Machine.
I haven't got a text yet from anybody, John. Oh, but then again, we're recording this. That's right. Oh, man, I need to drink more water before we come here. I'm not thinking straight. I love Gene, the dancing machine.
I do too.
All right, here's a little hint on the show that appeared. It was a 30-minute comedy show. Okay.
Comedy.
Comedy
/ game show.
Yeah, there you go. Comedy show, and may we say tremendously improvised.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
All right, so let's go ahead and continue. Let's see if that helped anybody. I'm sure several people have already gotten it by this. All right, so what we were saying, when they started this program, okay, they actually brought it through the 8 steps of the bullseye management. They defined it. Mm-hmm. We published it. Okay, they promoted amongst their team. There was a lot of wrangling. Wait, no, that's not the number. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. There was a good discussion. There's plus and minuses. It was communicated regularly over and over and over, and then it was announced. Okay, there was an actual announcement. And once we said, here's the measurement, listen, everybody, it has made all the difference in the world. Everyone is selling. I've checked with the manager regularly. I called him even today before we recorded today. I said, hey, how's it going? His answer is, hey, Maurice, everyone's selling. And it was just, and I said, tell me why. And his answer was, because 5-1 works. It's just fascinating what the numbers do.
Managers, seriously, listen to the difference between we're trying and 5-1.
Yeah, you notice how sometimes the Gene dancing machine doesn't interrupts us because John and I are not doing a good job of managing the number of minutes that we are given between each segment. Yeah. It's all about the numbers. We got to stay within 5.5 minutes between you hear Gene the dancing machine.
That's right.
It's all about the numbers. All right. So once you start measuring it, then you can move on to the next step. All right. And the next step is
to manage it.
You got to manage it. In other words, if you're going to get a number, now what?
Exactly.
If you get the numbers on Tuesdays and you see someone is below the numbers,
what would you consider doing?
did you hear that silence? Ready? Listen, ready? Okay, you get the numbers, and then all of a sudden, this is what most managers do. See, this is horrible for radio. I know. Some of you guys probably thought we lost the
It's
signal.
even more horrible in the business, though.
Exactly. We need to get a clip for crickets.
Yeah.
Okay. Managers normally, when they are given numbers, they freeze.
Yep.
They don't go out to manage. They don't go meet with the people, talk with them, and say, "Hey, what happened? What's going on?" And then look for patterns. Is this the second week? Is this a third week? Is this happening at the end, at the last week of the month? You got to manage to it. You got to go and find out. Get yourself out of your chair and go interact with people.
Yep. It's so hard for some managers to have these kinds of conversations. And what helps, and maybe I'll do another show on this at some point, but what helps is just having data, not your judgment about the person. You're not trying hard enough. You're not smart enough. There's something wrong with you. It's just data. Let it be about the data. You need to make 5. You didn't make 5. What do we need to do so you make 5?
And you have to simply come across on a regular basis. Your demeanor needs to be the one that says that you commit yourself to handle those conversations with care.
That's right.
Okay? Because you're not trying to use the numbers to browbeat nor to bring your hammer. You want to basically say, how can I help you? How can I train you? Where do I need to retrain you? Where do I need, you know what I'm saying? But you have to manage to it. One of the best questions that I was asked was a series of questions by this manager I told you about earlier. Maurice, did you see the numbers? I did. And what have you done about it? And I was like, oh. Then he said, what do you think the numbers are for? And I went, he says, okay, that was yesterday. Now what are you going to do today? And I'm like, And he said, okay, sit down.
Yeah.
He says, let me tell you what you do with numbers. And he basically said, you manage. Once you have the measurement, you manage. Because remember, I told you, Maurice, you can't manage if you're not measuring it. But once you have the measurement, now it's time to manage.
That's right.
And part of management is going and talk with them, sitting down with them, visiting with them. Watch them work. Go see what one day of work at their cubicle or their office looks like. Perhaps you'll see the reason why. Let them see that you really care. You got to handle it with care, and then you have to figure out whether there's any training that needs to happen or a process change.
Really, Maurice, seriously, the manager is helping this person so much to keep their career on track by making them stay in line with the numbers.
And that is the cue for our segment. This is the Traveling Wilburys. Great message here. You are listening to Team Real World, 107.3 FM.
WBRP.
Handle with care.
Reputations changeable.
Everybody wants to love. Everybody wants to be loved. Oh, 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 oh. Everybody
Welcome
wants to
back
love.
to the Team Real World radio show, where we discuss real problems with real solutions, and we make it
Really fun.
really fun. Our website is www.teamrealworld.com, and our phone number is 225-772-4357. Okay, we are having a really great show. You are listening to Talk 107.3 FM.
WBRP.
And our topic has been bullseye management.
Yes.
We have been talking about the 8 steps, the 8 tactics, the 8 strategies, if you will, of managers of how to make sure things don't fall through the cracks.
That's right. And just to do a quick review again, just to keep you oriented, or if you joined the show late, we started with defining, then publishing.
You got to define what it is you want to do.
Exactly.
You got to publish it.
So it's on paper. You got to promote it. Then you got to communicate it.
If you're going to print it, you got to promote it. You got to walk
That's
around,
right.
talk to people. You got to communicate and talk about it.
That's right. Then you got to measure it, and then you got to manage to it with those measurements.
That's right. If you manage it, then you can measure. If you measure it, then you can manage to it.
That's right.
And then if you measure it, don't forget to manage from it.
That's
okay?
right.
And then part of that manage, as we talked about in the last segment, is the ability to find out whether training needs to rehab, to
That's
happen,
true.
whether you
That's
need
true.
to retrain somebody.
That's right.
So now we're in our last segment, but don't forget that although we're here towards the end, these two steps are critical.
Very critical.
I mean, it's almost like the icing on the cake. Seriously, you have a nice cake and you forget the icing,
Yeah.
and then you put the icing and you forget to put the happy birthday on the top.
Well, what if we just went the icing, Maurice? I kind of like the icing more than the cake.
It's too much trouble for this segment. I don't know what you do if you want the segment. I tell you what, because a lot of employees just want the icing.
It's true.
And they don't want the cake. So,
That's true.
In other words, they want to have a good time.
Yep.
Okay. But they got to perform.
Right.
So you got to keep your culture thriving, fun, but it's got to be based around performance.
And there are sometimes managers who want to overdo this seventh step without having the performance first.
That's right. And so remember, like the song said, everybody wants to be loved.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be recognized. Everybody wants to be compensated. Everybody wants to be told thank you. However, keep this in mind. Not everybody likes to be recognized the same way.
So let's just say it out loud. Step 7 is
reward.
That's right.
You have to reward folks for their performance. So you have to acknowledge them. And let me just say this. Sometimes, I want to say many times, the reward is simply the acknowledgement.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah. Even on a one-on-one level, not in front of everybody.
Oh, yeah. But I worked for an organization that one time that basically every day they told us how our sales were doing. Okay? And if you were in the top 10 for that day, your name showed up in green. Okay, and everybody else just stayed white. So there were no reds. But if you performed really well that day, you got your name green showing up on the screens.
There you go.
And so it's like, hey, I got green.
There you go.
And that was it. I mean, and we all fought for green as though it was a $50 gift certificate card to somebody, and all we were fighting for was just green. It's amazing what acknowledging it goes. So part of rewarding, be creative. And by being creative doesn't mean go spend money. And it doesn't mean give everybody barbecue grills all the time, although those are good.
Sure.
I'm saying it so much has to be around the idea of people congratulating people. And letting the folks at the top, meaning the executives, be part of that.
Oh, yes.
Great job. Hey,
yes.
such and such, and let them walk around. Many times, whenever I want to congratulate my people, I go and tell the executives and let the executives come around and go, hey, such and such, I saw in the report or Maurice told me or whatever that you did really, hey, man, great job. I appreciate you doing that. And then tell them to get back to their hole.
That's
right. get back to the 8th floor.
Yeah. You have a saying, Maurice, that I think is really relevant.
Which one?
And it is that if I have performed for you, give me a penny or a kiss.
That's right. You got to give me a penny or kiss.
Right.
Okay.
And it's a legitimate request.
Yeah. Don't do this to me. Again, silence.
Yeah.
Okay. People, it doesn't matter what personality you are. If you go silent on them, then it will have a negative impact. But don't think that you need to go woohoo to everybody. Everybody has different personalities. Some people want to be acknowledged in front of others. Others are begging you to please do not reward me or acknowledge me, in front of others.
Yeah, we were with a client not long ago. We saw
yeah.
a lifetime award go out to someone who was completely embarrassed by being surprised and called up in front of the entire
and it
organization.
negatively impacted him the rest of his career there.
It did.
As far as we know, it still impacted him. Here we are a
did.
year later, and I think he demoted himself afterwards. It was really a bad situation.
Yeah.
He did not appreciate the way that was handled. So just keep in mind, look at the personalities, but always find ways to love on everybody. Okay.
Oh, here he is.
All right.
Gene the dancing machine.
We're going to have to post how to dance this. Those of you driving, be careful. Be careful. It's Gene, the dancing machine. The folks that don't know what we're talking about going, what is going on?
Yeah, but those who do know what we're talking about right now are loving every minute of it.
Yes, you are. And you're probably, if you're recording,
little
you're
nostalgia.
probably rewinding it going, oh, I haven't heard that in years.
That's right.
We are going to have to put that on the front page of our website.
Yeah, that's right.
At our workshops, that's exactly what we need
Yeah.
to do if you show up late.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, better yet, that's the music we ought to use when we call people back from the break.
Oh, that's perfect.
We normally use the song "Hey Ya" by Outkast. We might
Yeah.
change this to Gene the Dancing Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway. All right. So here we are in our fourth and last segment. Man, the time has just flown, John.
Yes, it has.
It has really. We hope you've enjoyed it. Let's go to our last step in this bullseye management. Remember, you got to hit it with your best shot. Okay. You got to aim at the bullseye right in the middle, and then work your way out from the middle. You got definition, publish, promote, communicate it, measure it, manage it, reward it, okay? And now you want to
Recruit to it.
exactly. Whatever the idea, whatever the project, whatever the initiative, whatever the company, whatever the division it is that you're trying to foster, to promote, to implement, you got to use these 8 steps as a manager to keep you without going in the gutters. Put gutter rails as in
right.
bowling.
Yeah.
Okay, but the last one is probably the one that feeds the opportunity for this to become even more effective. Recruit people for this. Recruit folks that like to be in a work environment in which they're going to be managed by numbers,
Yes.
in which they like to communicate in writing professionally. Don't recruit folks that are loose about everything.
So
Okay.
when we say recruit, we're talking about adding members to the team. at
Yes,
this point,
yes. So,
right?
for
Yeah.
example, if you need 3 more sales reps, if you need, you know what I'm saying, as you're recruiting more people, we're not talking about getting rid of existing folks because, hey, you inherited them and they're your children. You have to develop them. It's
Yeah.
your responsibility to develop them. All right, but in order to develop your existing team, you owe your existing team new team members that will add skill and challenge to the organization,
Yep.
not that you'll make your current team be a babysitter.
Right. If you clearly see gaps, talent gaps in what you want to get accomplished on your team, then recruit specifically to what you want to get accomplished.
In sales, you always want to be selling. ABC. Always be closing. There's a great clip on a movie we'll probably share with you sometime in the future. Go close before you get your first cup of coffee. Okay? Always be closing. In management, you always use ABC, ABR, not ABC. Always be recruiting.
Yep.
Don't start recruiting when you need it. Always build a bullpen.
Yeah.
Always have your lineup of pitchers coming down. You may need him, you may not need him. You always want to be recruited. And when you got to take the approach that you have to go find good people one way or another.
I'll add to this, Maurice, at Team Real World and with some of our clients, we just have as part of our weekly rhythm ongoing interviews.
We have somebody at our office that is always interviewing for people
That's right.
on a regular basis, whether we need them or whether we don't need them.
And I'll tell you, we have recently found some gems.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, some gems.
Oh, yeah.
And it only really happened because it's part of our rhythm. We didn't wait until there was a need and then play out on a 6-month-long process to find one
And
person.
because we take the approach, we take the concept one way or another, we're going to find them.
Yep.
We're going to bring them. We're going to shake them. We're going to move them. We got to go find them. We got to go attract them because they're out there and they're looking for a place like us to be employed in, to be part of that team. And we're basically wanting to let folks, hey, we have that team here. We manage well. We manage by numbers. We define our terms. We publish our ideas. We do a good job communicating as best as we can.
Yep.
We promote ideas amongst ourselves. We try not to manage by frustration, but rather by the numbers, by measurements, and we reward performance. I mean, who wouldn't want to be part of that?
Exactly.
Okay,
That's exactly
so
right.
you want to have the attitude that you want to be able to attract new people that are that caliber. So we wish you the best of luck by putting these programs together, and we thank you very much for joining us on our show. This is the Team Real World show. It's been a great pleasure to be with you here.
Yes, it has.
And you are listening to 107.3 FM.
WBRP.